Hey there! Ever wondered what school is like in different parts of the world? Well, you're in for a treat. Today, we're exploring some of the most bizarre, unexpected, and downright fascinating school traditions from around the globe. Trust me, some of these will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about education. We all have our own experiences of school, sitting in classrooms, listening to teachers, maybe even passing notes when you weren't supposed to. But what if I told you that in some places, school is a completely different experience? From students cleaning their own schools to zip-lining to class. The world is full of school customs that will blow your mind. Let's kick things off in Japan. Now, you've probably heard that Japanese schools are all about discipline and order, right? Well, in some schools, they've taken things in a totally different direction by scrapping strict rules altogether. That's right, students are in charge of their own schedules. They get to choose what they want to study and when they want to study it. Can you imagine that? No rigid class times, no one telling you what to do. Instead, it's all about letting students take control of their own learning. Pretty wild, huh? But here's something even more unusual. Japanese students also clean their own schools. Yep, you heard that right. There are no janitors. Students are responsible for tidying up their classrooms, hallways, and even the bathrooms. This practice is called osoji, and it's meant to teach them the value of hard work and respect for their surroundings. And honestly, it kind of makes sense. After all, if you clean the place yourself, you're probably less likely to mess it up in the first place. Now let's jump over to South Korea, where the school day isn't just long, it's super long. South Korean students are in class for an average of 16 hours a day. After regular school hours, most of them head straight to private tutoring centers called hagwons to continue studying well into the night. The pressure to succeed academically is intense, and while it's definitely impressive, you can't help but wonder how they keep going. On the flip side, Finland is doing things a little differently. Finnish students spend way less time in school than most countries, and yet their education system is ranked among the best in the world. How do they pull that off? Simple. They focus on quality over quantity. Instead of loading students with homework and exams, they prioritize creative learning and playtime. It's a completely different approach, and the results speak for themselves. But if you think that's interesting, wait till you hear about Colombia. In some rural parts of the country, students literally zip-line to school. With no bridges to cross rivers in certain areas, students strap into a harness and zip across the river to get to class. Can you imagine that being part of your daily routine? It's both incredible and terrifying at the same time, but it shows just how far kids are willing to go to get an education. Speaking of going the extra mile, let's talk about the ancient Indian tradition of gurukuls. In this system, students live with their teachers in a close-knit community, learning not just academics, but also life skills and spiritual teachings. It's a way of teaching that's been around for centuries and is still practiced in some parts of India today. It's not just about reading from books, it's about developing the whole person, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Now, let's head to Kenya, where innovation meets necessity. In the Kibera slums, one school was built entirely out of recycled shipping containers. It's a perfect example of how you don't need fancy buildings or endless resources to create a space for learning. Even with the simplest materials, education can thrive. And here's a story that might just take the cake. Denmark has a floating school. Yeah, you heard that right. It's called the floating school, and it's an actual boat that travels along the coastline, providing students with a hands-on education in marine biology and sustainability. Imagine learning about the ocean while you're literally floating on it. It's an amazing example of how creative solutions can make education more engaging and relevant to students' lives. So, What do all these stories have in common? They show us that education isn't just about textbooks and tests. It's about creativity, innovation, and adapting to the world around us. Whether it's cleaning your own classroom in Japan, zip-lining to school in Colombia, or studying marine life on a boat in Denmark, these schools are proving that there's more than one way to learn. Which one of these school traditions blew your mind the most? Was it the floating school in Denmark, the students zipping across rivers in Colombia, or maybe the idea of cleaning your own school in Japan? Let me know in the comments. And if you've got any crazy school facts of your own, I want to hear them. Thanks for joining me on this wild ride around the world of education. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video with more incredible stories from around the globe. Stay curious.